Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Suzanne, and today I would like to tell about the experience I had traveling yesterday. This week I was at a prayer meeting. If you follow Celebration TV, you may know that the man of God, Apostle Johnson Suleiman, was in Baltimore for a few days. And I took an opportunity to go because I love the atmosphere of the Holy Spirit. So on Thursday, it was the last day and there was a service. I got myself ready. That day was just interesting. And please forgive me if I go into details. This is not necessarily to show a certain lifestyle, but to give you the context of what was happening. Okay, so bear with me. So I woke up and I was in this hotel where I had valet parking, and I text the valet people and I tell them, okay, I'm going to be down in 30 minutes to make sure that the car would be ready as soon as I come downstairs. So I go ahead, get ready, get all my suitcases and go downstairs. I see the car, but I don't see the valet personnel. So I don't have access to the key. I look at the car, I look at the time because I wanted to go to the church service. So finally the valet personnel comes and I'm like, what's going on? I texted you a long time ago. Why is the car not ready? He said, no, he had an emergency. After he brought my car, somebody else's car, he was going to get the car and the car wasn't starting. So all of a sudden, wherever they parked the car very far at a different parking lot, they had to call emergency. They had to do this. So it took him a long time and he's very sorry, but they had to take care of that other client because it was an emergency. I'm like, Kai. He gives me the key. So I go in the car. I'm like, look, it's too late to make the service. I'm just going to follow on phone and make my way to the airport. So I already had a ticket, and that ticket was for first class, but it was late in the evening. It was around 7 p.m. and I was like, oh, I want to get home early because if I leave Baltimore at 7, I'm going to be home at 11 p.m. I don't want to do that. So let me change to an earlier flight, 3 p.m. I purchased, you pay the penalties when you change your ticket last minute. And I'm like, okay, no worries. I don't have anything to do in Baltimore. Let me drive to the airport because I have to return the car. I have to put the gas, all that. I get to the airport and it's still super early. I got there maybe at 10 o'clock and I get to the counter and I tell the lady, look, I'm here to check in for the 3 p.m. flight, but I would really want to find out if you have an earlier flight because I want to get home early. She looks, and she said, oh, there's a flight at 12 if you want to take that one, but you are not going to be in first class from Baltimore to Atlanta, but you're going to be in first class from Atlanta to Denver. I said, okay, no worries. My goal here, my intention is to get home early. So I still have time. I had to do payroll. I had to do a few things. And I agree, to me, it's even a blessing that there is still a spot in that particular flight. So she does everything and she said, okay, bye. You're going to get your seat assigned at the gate. Okay, no worries. I get to the gate. First of all, I see someone super dear to me, and I was so happy that I changed the flight. So that was the highlight. I was like, oh Lord, you are just awesome. Anyway, I go in the flight and I'm at the last seat, like the last seat before you see the place where the flight attendants are in the back there. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. I can trade that. It's okay. No worries. It's just Baltimore to Atlanta. It's an hour and a half flight. I get to Atlanta. The connection was so short. I was almost running to catch the other flight. So I get there and like the last people are boarding and I'm running like, oh Lord, they told me I'm in first class so I can actually cut this line and go to my seat. So I go to the counter give my little ticket saying that I will get the seat assigned at the gate. And he gives me a number I don't understand. I'm at the back of the plane. I'm like, Kai, this is a long flight, so I'm gonna be there restricted, no space for my I said, okay, I don't have time to argue. Let me just do it and move on. At least I'm going to get home early. So I go to the back, I sit down. The flight attendant, she was complimenting me on what I was wearing. I was like, oh, thank you, whatever. I sit down, but I think she liked me because she came and gave me extra snacks. She was just treating me like royalty, and I was so grateful for that. So we get close to Denver and we begin to hear this announcement. Oh, there is a storm in Denver. We can't land. We have to turn. So we're going to just fly around for 15 minutes. Then he tells us, oh, this storm is not getting better. We're going to consider going to another city. We're going to go to Colorado Springs and refill the tank because the gas is getting low. And turbulence, like the plane was just shaking. I was like, Lord, I'm in this flight. Nothing will happen to it because I'm here with my Bible. My Bible is your word, your spirit. It means you are here with me. So I just moved on. I was watching a movie. Then we hear an announcement. The flight attendant says, please, we have a passenger in a critical medical condition. We're going to take him to the back of the flight. Please, everybody, go to your seat and have your seat belts and all that. So they're walking, and they're coming toward us because I'm at the row before last. So they bring him to that last row behind me. And as he's coming, I'm looking at him. He has panic on his face. He is just so weird, and something just rose inside of me, and I was like, what's going on here? So they put the guy behind me, and I hear him groaning. I immediately stood up, and I said, let me help him. So they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I'm a medical doctor, so I can't do that. They said, oh, okay, you go ahead and help him then. So the guy, he has cold sweats. He is throwing up. He is screaming. It is panic everywhere. So I hold him. I tell them, give me a bag of ice. And I hold his hand. But he is moving so much. So I'm like, okay, calm down. Don't be afraid. Because initially I thought it was motion sickness and anxiety. Then his reactions are weird, and he's trying to just leave my hand to put on his chest. Then I ask him, what's happening? He says, my heart. First I check his pulse to see if he has tachycardia, like if he has a fast heartbeat. Then I put my hand on his heart and I begin to pray, and I say, Lord, I don't know what's going on here, but I command whatever is happening to cease now. I take authority. I pray, I speak first, and then I begin to pray in tongue, quietly, because everybody's watching. They don't understand what's going on with the guy. Then he calms down, and I can feel he's breathing calmly and normally. Then I begin to talk to him, and I ask him, what's happening? Do you ever have this? He says, I've never had this in my life. I'm asking him, do you have panic attacks? He says, no. I'm asking, do you have motion sickness? He says, no. I'm like, how often do you fly? He says, almost every month. I'm like, what do you do for a living? He is in charge of setting up all the ATM machines of the Walmart in the whole country. So he goes from state to state every month, and he has to do that, frequently. And he's been doing that for years. I'm like, what's going on here? So then I ask him, do you have asthma? He says, no, I don't have asthma. I ask him, do you smoke? He says, yes. I ask him, what do you smoke? He says, marijuana. I ask him, when was the last time you took marijuana? He says, this morning. I tell him, this is the last time you're taking marijuana. You need to quit that immediately. Then he tells me the heart. I ask him, what do you feel in your heart? He says, like a pressure. It's really bad. I ask him, do you have like shoulder pain, stomach ache, things like, to figure out if the pain is from anxiety or if it's actually a heart attack. And the symptoms he tells me, feeling his heart is squeezed, feeling that he's going to die, feeling a chest pressure. I'm like, Kai, this is a heart attack. So I put my hand on his chest and then I begin to bind the spirit of death. I begin to bind the spirit of addiction. I begin to cast out marijuana, and I pray, because now I have an understanding of what is happening, because motion sickness was not really fitting the picture of what was happening. So I pray. I cover. The guy was, he was throwing up. He was having mucus coming from his nose. He was a mess. He took his clothes off. His pants was down. I started cleaning him, talking to him quietly, nicely, just cleaning his face, his head, his nose, his mouth, just calming him down. And eventually he calmed down. And by the time he calmed down, we were landing, and I was just telling him, don't worry, you're fine. Don't worry. Eventually he calmed down, got back to his normal, but because I was suspecting hypoxemia, I didn't have anything to measure his vitals. We called the ambulance or whoever is at the airport who takes care of sick patients, and he was taken. And I told them, look, you need to get his vitals, you need to check his oxygen, he needs an EKG, just to make sure. And so he was telling me that he's coming to Denver and he's with one of his colleagues. So I was able to identify the colleague just so I know who he was with. We land in Colorado Springs, they fill up the tank, and then they tell us there is such a bad storm in Denver, we're gonna have to wait here in Colorado Springs for 3 hours. I'm like, Kai, I boarded in this flight to get home earlier. It doesn't even matter anymore. So while the guy left and while we waiting and all that, the flight attendants come to me and they're like, oh, we just want to thank you for volunteering to help the patient. He really helped us because everybody was panicking in the flight. So we want to give you something because they wanted to mail something at home. She probably looked up and discovered that I actually changed my flight and I was initially supposed to be in first class. Then when we were getting ready to return to Denver, she just upgraded me back to first class. And I was like, wow, Lord. So you brought me here at the back of the flight for an assignment. And I am so glad I responded, because I bet you this guy was having a heart attack. And if there wasn't any intervention spiritually, he would have probably died in that plane. So you have to be very aware of your environment. Never take anything lightly, because he could have had a heart attack and it would have been said that, oh, it was motion sickness or it was this, it was that. But this was the plan of the enemy, to take him out. So I told him, never again touch marijuana. He said yes. When we landed in Denver, finally at like 11 p.m., I walked to his colleague and I was asking him, have you heard from your friend? He said, yeah. He's fine. He got cleared, and I'm going to drive back up to Colorado Springs to pick him up. And thank you so much. You see, a life saved. Oh, Lord. So when your day is going weird, just begin to pray and ask God, Father, what is the assignment? What am I supposed to do here today? What is happening? And you just take any opportunity to pray for anyone around you if they need prayer. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. This was Dr. Suzanne, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.